Sajni here, and today we are going to talk about identity shifting and what that really means. So stick around till the end of the video because we are going to understand what consciously creating a reality means. Before I begin, I'm super excited to announce that the 2-hour free masterclass for the group coaching and the one-to-one free consultation for the premium coaching for the Mindset and Reality Revolution program is open up for enrollment. So stick around till the end of the video for more announcement on that. So with that, let's get right into the video. So today we are going to talk about identity shifting and what that truly means. So when we say identity, when we talk about identity, identity can be in various levels. So it can be physical, it can be mental, or it can be spiritual, or which is the awareness that we call. And really, if you see, it's going from the most subtle to the most gross form. So subtle because awareness or the beingness is the most hard to catch because we can't see it with our senses or see it with our eyes or feel it or touch it. So that becomes a very subtle form of our identity, and that's why we fail to catch it more often than not. But the body level or the physical level of awareness, so the matter which we can see, so we have in a physical identity is our identity with our position that we hold, or the possessions that we have, or the surroundings, our family or people that we mingle with, so or the community that we deal with. So those are the physical aspects of identity that we have, and we tend to identify with them, right? So that holds identity for us. The second level of identity is obviously our level of thought and a belief system that we hold. So we have certain belief systems that we identify with. So that is the identity that we hold of a certain person of a certain religion, or a person of a certain thought plan or thought flow, or a person with a certain set of beliefs. So that is the identity of the physical and the mental level. But the identity of the beingness or the awareness is the most subtle form, or basically the identity of the highest level, we can say. Because if we come to think of it, all of these forms, the body and the mind level of existence or the mind level of identity, are transient. Basically trying to do is we're basically trying to find our identity in this physical or the mental aspects of things, which does not hold true for who we really are. So who we really are is just awareness. We are just experiencing the body, the physical or the mental level of existence. So that is the true foundation of identity, and that's why when we don't stick to the physical level of identity or even the mental level of identity, if we transcend to the level of identity of just being or just an experiencer or the observer, that is the highest level of identity. So if we come to think of it, really, consciousness or awareness is actually a key or a doorway to attaining enlightenment or reality creation. So if we are able to get to this level of identity of being just core fundamental, that's a core fundamental identity, which is our beingness. So if we can get to that, when we get to the core level of our identity, we can be anyone or have anything or do anything that we want. So there is no restriction, because the consciousness is something, it's eternal. Its energy can never be created nor be destroyed, right? It can be only transformed. So we can transform that energy into any form that we want. So then it can come from the non-matter to the matter. So we can then mold it accordingly. So that is exactly the meaning of reality creation. Reality creation means that you mold that energy that you have into any form that you want, because it does not need to be binded. Here, what truly happens when we identify ourselves in the level of our mind or our body, we feel to see for what it truly is. Because all this is transient, all this is impermanent. So when we try to look for bliss or joy or happiness in things which are impermanent, it's constantly changing. Nothing is constant, right? Because when we were young, and then we grew up, and then we'll grow old, and then we'll go back to our source. So that is a true path of our way. The manifest is in a constant cycle. So in this constant cycle, if we try to attach or if we try to identify with any of these transient cycle, is when we cause a suffering level, when we become controlled by them, when we become a bondage. So in yogic literature, in ancient yogic literature, it mentions karma is basically your spiritual or pranic energy is being bind into this physical realm, and what we are truly seeking is the freedom from the bondage of the physical or the mental plane. We want to be able to get to that level, so that's enlightenment, right? But nonetheless, we here at least want to get to a level of not enlightenment at least, but we want to get to a level of at least being able to create our own reality, choose our own reality by not becoming anything, but by experiencing, choosing an experience. What experience do you want to choose? So that is a level of identity. So not the body level of identity, not the mental level of identity, but the beingness level of identity, where we want to simply experience what we want to experience. So we choose our experience. And that can happen only through the doorway of a higher consciousness or higher awareness. Because consciousness is nothing but energy, right? So we have our thought energy and our emotional energy. So we need to be able to use our thought and emotional energy wisely to be able to bring forth or manifest what we want to manifest from the unmanifest realm. So what we need to understand here is that we are not the characteristics. We have the characteristics. We are not the body. We have a body. We are not the mind. We have a mind. We are not the thoughts or our emotions. We have thoughts and emotions. So when we can disidentify from those characteristics or the identity that we identify with, or characteristics, okay? So our idea here is not to identify with those level of the physical and the mental plane. Our job is to disidentify from the mental and the physical realm. That is when we truly can step back and start creating a reality. Because the more we identify with the characteristics, the more difficult it becomes to detach. The more difficult it becomes to see it for what it really is. Then we become it. We're just a player, we're just an experiencer to experience our life. So rather than that, we become the game itself, and then we get into that bondage, and then these things begin to control us. So when things don't go our way, it just destroys us a little bit more. So things just control us. So we don't want to be able to have things controlling us, because when things don't go our way, we feel the negative emotions come. We feel the negative emotions come, and then those emotions then lead to a lifeline of the negative lifeline. So therefore we cannot be the creators of our reality. So for us to be able to become creators of a reality, we need to have two things under our control. One, our own patterns, which means the way we think and the way we feel, we can choose that. So we choose to feel great, or we choose to feel the way we want every moment. Okay, how we choose to feel blissful, or happy, or peaceful, or abundant, that is in our hand. Nobody decides that. No circumstances, no events, nothing. Second is that we can choose our own, we react, how we respond, how we choose to operate, right? So we become the operators and creators of our reality then. We then become the operators and creators of our life when we become greater than our patterns or habitual patterns of our thought and mental identity, okay, or thought and emotions or a mental identity. Second, when we become greater than our outer circumstances, when our outer circumstances does not define how we think and how we feel, our state of being elevates. So when we are able to elevate into that higher consciousness, that is the doorway when we can truly start creating our reality, because every thought energy, our predominant thought energy, is elevating us to the reality that we want, right? As per quantum physics, every reality that we want to experience is available. We just need to be able to tap into it. But if we're tapping into the negative lifelines or negative energy, we are tapping into the negative lifelines. But every moment, we choose our thoughts, we choose our mental identity, and then we choose our reality, we choose our creation. So we are every moment, we do not identify with the transient or the impermanence. We stick to being the core of our core fundamental being, which is our being state, or which is our awareness state. We are just experiencing. Even if we want to choose a reality or choose our creation of experiencing something abundant or something of success or something of love, we are wanting to experience that, not become that or identify with that. Identity shifting, in fact, is not identifying with anything, transient or impermanent. Identity shifting is getting to your core state of your being, which is awareness, and from there choosing what you want to create. You let go of things, of the transient things, or transient thoughts, transient emotions. Everything is changing. Everything is changing. Most of us face issues in our external life is because we are attaching to it. We are too much identifying with it. My husband or my wife, and something changes in the prospect of the characteristics of the husband or the wife, then there is a clash. There is a turmoil, because we as human beings, at the core of our being, we do not like bondage. We like to be free, because at the core of our awareness, our core being, we are free. Our spirit is free. But when our spirit or a pranic energy gets identified with any of these, or tries to get controlled by any events which are impermanent, then our internal being rebels. It becomes in conflict, and that's why we face the conflict. So the motive here, to be able to understand that when we are trying to choose a reality or create a reality, is not by functioning in this cycle of bondage, of trying to create matter from matter. The formula that I want to leave you with, to become conscious creators of our reality and choosing to adapt to our core fundamental identity of our beingness or our awareness, is called the Thermostat Formula. Now, what Thermostat Formula is basically is that when we see a thermometer is an apparatus which fluctuates its temperature, bases its temperature when it's around in its environment. When the temperature goes down outside, it lowers its temperature, and vice versa. But we want to get to a thermostat level. Where thermostat level is basically that irrespective of the environment outside, it maintains its power, it maintains its thermostat. So it's just aware, it's just experiencing whatever is happening, whether it's heat or whether it's cold. It's neutral. It's a neutral 0 point, right? So when we can get to that level, therefore now we are consciously choosing our own thought and feelings. We want to consciously choose our own reactions or response rather, right? Because between stimulus and response, there is always a gap, and from that gap comes your choice of how you want to show up, how you want to respond, how you want to present yourself, and that starts getting you to a positive lifeline of shifting your reality to a positive lifeline and where you want to head to. So that is number one. The number two formula that I want to leave you is that there is no requirement for us to add more bondage to our already existing, burden, right? So the less burden we have, the less identity we take off, right? Rather than putting masks, okay, the more we shed off our masks, the more we shed off our identity with any possession or position or belief or identity, the more we get to the source of our own core being, the more powerful creators of reality we become. Because come to think of it, it's like, when you shed off those layers, then you become less controlled by those layers. So this is the true meaning of becoming conscious creator of our own reality, is choosing ourselves to become more and more conscious and regaining our power of consciousness. And so the more we regain the consciousness, the more we have control over our reality of what we want to choose next, or what happens in the next 5 minutes, or 1 month, or 3 months, or 1 year down the line. So we consciously create our own reality. We are subject to nothing. We are not subject to our mind or our situations. We create our own reality. So we accept what has happened up till this point, and then we now start to get our wind of our manifestation, at least move to the right directions, and then slowly see the fruits of the results. The manifest has to happen. That is a law. Whenever the unmanifest, the energy is pure, the energy is of high vibration, the manifest has to happen. That is a law. There is no other way. So that is, the entire reality is basically already present. The reality that you want to experience is already present. Right? You just want to choose which reality you want to experience, not identify with again. Which reality you want to experience. So we choose that, and we consciously become creators of a reality. So that is the true meaning of identity shifting. Okay, so with that I conclude the video. So let's do a quick recap of what we have discussed so far. There are 3 levels of identity, which is a physical level, a mental level, and an awareness level. So Awareness level is the most subtle form, and therefore we slip out of our awareness, of being aware that we're just experiencing here. We are not the game, but we are the players of the game of life. So when we detach from things, we have more control. We gain more power. We gain more the power of choice. Then we can choose. Rather, if we attach to the physical or the mental identity level, then if something goes wrong, then we start to get destroyed more and more and more. And so our endeavor is to heighten our awareness, to regain a part of consciousness each and every day, and do everything in a more conscious way, right? Do few things, but do it with consciousness, do it with awareness, do it with a heightened level of higher vibration, do it with love, do it with gratitude, do it with providing value. So when we start to do that, we start to experience more and more of that, because it multiplies. Whatever your focus creates attraction. So the more you focus on trying to do a certain way, live a certain way, the more you start to multiply. And scientifically as well, the neurological networks, the nerve cells that fire together, wire together. So you start to make that trend of you functioning in a certain way. You not being bondage to your mental and physical identity, but you maintain the level of being. Because now you're being, you're constantly, you're not static, you're constantly elevating yourself to a higher and higher version of yourself. So that is a state of being, of identity shifting, of a being level, where now you choose what you want to experience. That all manifest, or the matter, comes from the unmanifest, which is the pure energy. So when we understand this, then we don't rush to start manifesting from the pure physical or the mental plane, but we now get to the doorway of a consciousness from where all manifestation happens. So we need to be able to tap into that consciousness. And how do we do that? By maintaining our inner, our vibrations higher, okay? Because there are, in yogic science, there are 5 levels of forms, which is nothingness, awareness, energy, mind, and body. So now, in these five forms, if we just operate on the mind and the body level, we never tap into the place from the actual core, from where the manifestation happens, then we are just going into circles. We get stuck into that loop of having the same experience, getting the same kind of people, circumstances, experiences. So we keep revolving in that circle of our experience. Versus now, when we try to penetrate or level up our higher consciousness, then we start to get into more and more. The universe starts to open up for us to be able to experience more of what we want. So then we take the layers off. So then now we start shedding the layers off. Okay, just identifying with what is transient, what is impermanent. Everything that you want to experience, you experience from a place of awareness, rather than from a place of identifying with certain things, of your possession, or your money, or your car, or my job, or my wife, or my daughter, or my children. So we step back and we experience everything, we share everything, we just have a free spirit. So when that happens, everything starts to expand, because our spirit, our pranic energy, does not like constriction. Does not like, because emotions like fear, worry, anxiety, insecurity, all these constricts. But our spirit is actually truly looking for elevation or freedom. Okay, that's what we look for. We think that we're looking for freedom of money, time, relationship, and freedom of that. But truly, what we are looking for is in the finite plane. We're looking in the transient world. But what we're truly looking for is a freedom in our spirit. So when we let our spirit free, then naturally the other things begins to flow. So when we are in the being state, the doing and the having naturally follow. So you naturally start to elevate your consciousness. You start to get insights, start to get ideas that will elevate you to get to that experience that you want to experience. 2 formulas that we discussed was the Thermostat Formula. So the Thermostat Formula is basically that if you want to become a conscious creator of your reality, you will need to maintain a thermostat level of being, which means that no matter what is happening on your external environment, you will choose to remain in your power. You choose to remain in your awareness. You do not let anything outside of you control you, because your thought and your emotions is in your hand. You choose how you want to think and how you want to feel. That is in your power. Number 2 is you become greater than your patterns or your impulses or your reactions. You consciously stop, and rather than going to a habitual pattern of reacting in an angry way or reacting in that same way that you've been doing, now you shift your pattern and pause, and then you consciously choose your reaction. Between stimulus and response, there is a gap, and in that gap there is a choice. In the number two, the second formula is becoming greater than your environment again. So the thermostat technique again. But here what you do is you do not choose to identify with any of the events that are happening. You are the player or the operator or the creator of your reality, not the game itself. The game is being played. The game is being played by you. You're not the game, you're the player of the game. Okay, so we are going to read from the book Tao Te Ching, written by Lao Tzu, a Chinese monk. And the reason I abide by these principles is because the universal principles are very powerfully embedded here. And so I prefer to refer to this book once in a while, which gives me a little bit different insight into things and looking at things in a different perspective, in a new way, and in a more humble and grounded way, in a centered way. So I'm reading chapter verse 24, sorry. He who stands on tiptoe doesn't stand firm. He who rushes ahead doesn't go far. He who tries to shine dims his own light. He who defines himself can't know who he really is. He who has power over others can't empower himself. He who clings to his work will create nothing that endures. If we want to accord with the Tao, just do your job, then let go. So the Tao is basically the universe, the universal oneness, or the universal creation, right? So the awareness or the oneness that we talk about is nothing but a universal awareness, because the same awareness that I'm operating from is where you are operating from. So because that is the oneness that binds us, this eternal source, right? So the more we try to talk about the source, the more it kind of like becomes defined, right? So the less we talk about it, the better. But understanding it is basically we need to experience it, with our awareness. So that is the reason why we fail to overlook it in our daily lives, is because we only experience our universal source, our beingness, our awareness, only with our own awareness, right? So the greater, the more we get into the awareness or higher consciousness, the more great manifestors we become. I sincerely hope this was helpful. Thank you so much. And if you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon so that you can be notified every time. I'm super excited to announce a 2-hour free masterclass for the Mindset and Reality Revolution program for the group coaching is open up for registration. And what the Mindset and Reality Revolution program really is it's one of the highest paradigm of manifestation. So there are 3 paradigms of manifestation, which is the having, the doing, and the being. So if we get to the being state, or in quantum physics it's also called the identity shifting, because everything is in the state of being and becoming. So when we embody the state of beingness, then naturally the having and the doing falls into place. What I realized in my years of understanding and practicing and manifesting and studying neuroscience and quantum physics, what I understood was that it's never about the techniques, because technique is just the doing paradigm, or wanting to having paradigm, because the more you're wanting to have or want or get, the more you're stuck into that loop. The idea is to elevate into that awareness or that beingness state, where things start to fall into place, your ideas start to come. Things start to manifest for you effortlessly, right? Because we learn the principles, or we learn to work with the laws of nature, where we go through the path of least resistance. We understand the universal principles of balancing, of being and doing, action and non-action, effort and surrender. So these are some of the powerful principles which we include in the program that can help you boost your manifestation, boost your awareness, boost your clarity, boost your productivity. So things start to open up for you. And so the Mindset and the Reality Revolution program is designed in such a way that it helps you to elevate to that state, ideal state, or the being state that you envision to become. And therefore you effortlessly attract the things that you want to do or have. I'm also super excited to announce that I started the one-to-one interaction for the premium coaching for the Mindset and Reality Revolution program. And so the enrollment link, I'll leave it in the description and in my Instagram bio. So both the links are there. So I can't wait to have an interaction with you and see how we can work together. So I hope to see you there, and thank you so much for watching. Until next time.